قناة فلذاتنا.
سبحانك ربي يا رحمن، يا من كرمت بني الإنسان، وجعلت الأسرة تجمعنا وتقينا من لفح الحرمان. إن قام الأب بتربية للروح وأيضا للأبدان، وزرع الخير بأبناء وأسس ذياك البنيان، فسيحصد من ذلك خيرا وسيهزم أجناد الشيطان، ويؤسس بيتا للتقوى ويؤيد من رب منان، ويعامل زوجا بالحسنى ويعمر بيتا بالإحسان.
قناة فلذاتنا.
ويحفظ للأخت محبة، فالأخت كأنفاس الريحان، ويشد بكف لأخيه كي يقفا في وجه الطوفان. أسرتنا يا نعمة ربي، يا وردا أزهر في البستان، يا قارب خير يحمينا إن عصفت أمواج الخلجان. إن عاشت أسرتنا بشرع سنكون معا في بر أمان، سنكون معا في بر أمان.
قناة فلذاتنا.
I had to stop myself from lying. I said, I will not lie ever again. And then I went, how am I going to do that? Every time I open my mouth, I tell a lie. And then I thought, that's it. I just won't talk. I will not talk, and then I will not lie. And then I went, how am I going to not talk? That's impossible. I mean, I am kind of extroverted after all, and that was going to be very difficult. But then it came to me, wait, what if I could recognize that craving to talk, and I could stop myself before I say anything and make sure for sure that it's going to be true before I even speak? What if? Then maybe I could stop myself from lying. So that's what I resolved to do. That anytime I felt this craving within me to say something, to be part of a conversation, to get out of a problem, any craving to open my mouth, that I would tell myself, stop. I would take a small step back, and then I would ask myself a question. So disengage, ask self-question, is this the truth? And if the answer was yes, then I would step forward just slightly and I would tell exactly what the truth was, being very careful to say the truth exactly. But if after I'd taken the step back, I said to myself, no, this isn't the truth, this thing I'm craving to say is not true, then I would turn and I would walk away, not allowing myself to say anything at all, because I knew myself well enough that if I stayed there, I'd say it anyway. And I didn't want to do it. Essentially, what I did was I developed a skill for myself, a skill that involved stopping and evaluating the words that I was going to say before they came out of my mouth. It seems like that should be easy to do, but for me, it was hard. I made a skill set. What was the skill set? It contained certain steps. Step number 1, recognize the craving that I want to say something. Step number 2, stop yourself. Step number 3, analyze, question, is this the truth? Step number 4, say only the truth, so it's take action, or turn and walk away. Then step number 5 was report. I chose to report in my journal how I did with this lying problem. I chose to give myself praise for when things did good and to make new plans and resolve to do better when things were bad. I also am a praying person, so I reported to God each day how I did with my desire to be honest. I hope my story about the skill set I taught myself at age 14 is helpful for you while you're trying to teach your children how to overcome their lying behaviors too. What I'd like to share with you right now is 2 reasons why children get in the habit of lying that we might not have considered, and then also help you know how to have a good, meaningful conversation with them to conquer the lying problem. So first, why do children lie? At about age 6, 7, up until about age 9, children experiment with lying. So if you have a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old who has just started lying, that doesn't surprise me at all, because this is a normal time to experiment with lying, to see if anybody catches it, to see if it does any good, to see what kind of stories they can tell. We should not call them stories, just so you know. There are a lot of parents who say, oh, so-and-so's just telling stories. It's not really stories. If they're trying to manipulate a situation with it, it is a lie. And it actually is a bad behavior that needs to be addressed. So that's one reason that children start to lie. But some of the other reasons might surprise you. The other reasons have to do with the parents. Many children start lying because it's a defense mechanism, because their parents teach them to lie, because their parents are aggressive or scary, and the children don't want to deal with it. So they come up with the defense, which is tell a lie. If you have a child that always tells lies when they're getting into trouble, that's a good thing for you to recognize, because maybe your tone as you're doing your teaching is not calm. Maybe you are reacting emotionally instead of talking to them logically, which can help change their hearts, especially if you're looking in their eyes and talking to their hearts at the same time. Another way that parents teach their children to lie is by setting a bad example of lying themselves. I had a child tell me one time, my mom always tells me to tell people she's not home when they call. And I was like, oh, that's good to know. Because, you know, I've been told that before, right? Like, I didn't tell her that, but I was like, oh, interesting. So the mother doesn't want to talk on the phone for whatever reason. So she tells the daughter to tell a lie to somebody else. I've seen parents tell their children, pretend you're not with us and you go and get a different discount and we'll get this discount, you know, just to try to save some money. They teach their children to lie. It makes me so sad that people would put money above character development, above a person's future integrity. That's amazing to me. So those are some reasons people might not factor in for why children lie. So let's talk about what to do if your child has chosen to adopt the practice of lying and you need to put a stop to that right now. Years ago, my oldest son, when he was about 8 years old, adopted the habit of lying. He started doing it. I told him that's not a good idea, don't do it. And we corrected it, but he did it again. We corrected it, he did it again. I knew this is a problem. He's starting to do this regularly. And I also noticed that he wasn't doing his chores well. That's another sign of lying. If you say, I need you to clean your room, and they stuff it all under the bed, especially if they've been taught how to clean a room before, that's not an honest chore. So we call that a dishonest chore in our family. So he was doing dishonest chores and also telling lies to different people. At that point, I knew we needed to analyze the situation and have a planning meeting. So there are types of meetings that I have with my children called parent counseling sessions. We had a parent counseling session. I pulled him aside. It was just me and him, and we had a discussion about what I had noticed was happening with his behavior and the effects of it. I talked to him about trust. I talked to him about how people won't take him as seriously if he's not saying honest statements. And I told him how I used to be a liar and what happened to my life and how hard it was to overcome that problem. Then I said, we need to make a plan before we made the plan, I said, do you recognize that feeling that happens before you choose to lie? And he said, yeah. And I said, what we need to do is we need to recognize that feeling and then tell ourselves to stop. I taught him the same skill set that I already taught you. Then I asked him, what can we do? What type of positive consequence or negative consequence could we put in place for you, son, so that you would be motivated not to lie anymore? And he thought for a minute, and then he said, well, if I had to do 30 minutes of work every time I told a lie, I would choose not to lie. I said, okay, I can do that for you. We will have it be 30 minutes of work every time. Because he helped me make that decision, he was personally invested. In fact, he was so invested, he thought he had made a decision for the entire family. He went to all of his siblings and said, just so you know, we have a rule in our family. If you tell a lie or do anything dishonest, it's automatically 30 minutes of work.